Imagine a society where, your value isn't about money or who your parents were. Instead, it's all about how much you understand, the kind of questions you ask, just the power of your ideas, really.
Right.
It really flips the script on being well-informed. And that's what we're diving into today, based on these really fascinating sources you've brought.
Exactly. We're heading east, metaphorically speaking, to this place called Manaheim. The source material calls it a subpersonality inspiration, which is kind of intriguing in itself, like a facet of a larger mind.
Okay.
It's got a population of 4 million, covers almost 2,000 square miles. And its whole identity is experimental innovation, the core philosophy. To understand is to become.
Understand is to become.
Yeah. And we're going to explore how that single idea pretty much shapes everything there. Architecture, family, you name it.
Okay, so get ready for some definitely surprising facts, probably a few aha moments as we unpack how this society, built entirely on brain power, actually works. Let's start with the basics. Paint us a picture. What does Manaheim even look like? Definitely not your average city, I'm guessing.
No, not at all. It's really distinctive. You've got coastal hills, river valleys, but then it opens up into these huge lowland swamps, mangrove marshes, think misty wetlands,
Okay.
and dotted through them, terraced campuses, sleek tech parks, lots of boardwalks, raised paths connecting everything, labs, libraries, startups, all winding through cypress trees and water lilies.
Right, so built into the environment, not just on it.
Exactly. And the climate is, well, intense. Wet subtropical. So constant humidity, standing water, and these warm, sudden rainstorms pretty much all year round.
That makes sense. That environment must completely shape how they build and live day to day. You can't just, plonk down a skyscraper in a swamp.
Right, you absolutely can't. And their architecture shows that ingenuity. It's mostly elevated wooden walkways linking these tower-like structures and research halls. You see these amazing glass domes, academies covered in vines, even sunken courtyards built right into the wetlands.
Cool.
But the key thing is the magic tech integration. It's everywhere. Essential stuff like humidity control, lighting, even defense systems. Visually, it's kind of like Venice meets Cambridge, maybe? With a dash of fantasy swamp temple, really unique.
Venice meets Cambridge in a swamp. Okay, I'm picturing it. But it gets even more interesting when you look at the life there, the flora and fauna. They seem to be part of the society, not just background.
Oh, absolutely. It's an active partnership. They study these marsh spirits, semi-visible beings, possibly sentient, that mages focus on.
Marsh spirits. And then there are mirror toads.
Used in alchemy, but you have to be careful. Apparently, they get extremely toxic if agitated.
Good to know.
And you'd see lanternflies. They sink their glow with the swamp tides. Imagine that light show. Plant-wise, you've got quill bulbs. They naturally emit light, so perfect for studying. Myrevine, this parasitic plant that grows fast on buildings but is also harvested for compounds. And glow-cap fungi used in potions, bioluminescent mapping, all sorts.
So the whole ecosystem isn't just scenery. It's like a living laboratory they work with. How does that filter down into everyday things like food and clothes? I'm imagining some interesting meals.
Oh, definitely interesting and surprisingly sophisticated. They eat things like marsh grain risotto. It's made with swamp grains, mushrooms, myrevine, and smoked toad fat for richness.
Ooh, kotat.
Right. You might have quill bulb stew. It's actually bioluminescent. The soup glows faintly. Or glowcap pastries, sweet, phosphorescent fungi in desserts, or little energy bites.
Glowing food.
Yeah. Flavors are generally herbal, earthy, lots of umami, sometimes a tangy bitterness. And it's not just about eating. Food often has magical infusions, maybe to help with focus or mood.
Huh, practical magic.
Exactly. And clothing follows that. Lightweight tunics, breathable linens, often layered. Color-shifting cloaks are practical for the swamp environment. Waterproof sandals, naturally.
Gets sense.
And you see functional gear like hooded dusters with loops for potions, or gloves inscribed with runes for lab work, for ceremonies. Think scholar robes with glowing embroidery, maybe glass helms, or enchanted visors for high research rituals. Which really brings us to the big question. If understanding is everything, how does the society actually work? What about their social structure? It can't be based on money or birth, right?
Yeah, that's the core of it. How do you structure a society based on, well, smarts? Let's break down these social classes they have.
It's a really unique kind of meritocracy. At the top, you have the enlightened orders. These are your top researchers, inventors, mages, basically, professor-level folks. Their influence comes from published work, inventions, big discoveries.
Okay, the intellectual elite.
Pretty much. Below them are the spiralborn. Apprentices, journeyman scholars, talented people working their way up, they collaborate a lot in these groups called thought clusters.
Thought clusters. I like that.
Then you have the untethered. These are the laborers, the folks maintaining the infrastructure, harvesting resources. Respected for their work, definitely, but not really seen as part of the core intellectual mission.
So practical skills are valued, but separate.
Kind of, yeah. And finally, the obscured. Rogue inventors, esoteric cults, maybe scholars who failed trials. They live on the fringes, sometimes feared, sometimes weirdly respected for unconventional ideas.
And can people move between these groups?
Oh yeah, social mobility is real. But you have to pass these intense trials of cognition, curiosity, and community debate. It's not easy.
Wow. It totally rethinks what belonging means. Not blood, not money, but shared intellect. Which, okay, leads to family. If it's not about bloodlines, what is family in Manaheim?
It's completely different. The sources call families collectives of study, experimentation, and mentorship. They form these knowledge clusters around specific fields, swamp, alchemy, illusion theory, whatever.
So your family is basically your research group.
In a way, yeah. And kids might actually move between clusters if their talents lead them elsewhere. Mentor bonding is also a massive deal. An adult can formally bond with a young person in a ceremony of mindsworn.
Mindsworn.
Yeah, it creates this super strong mentor-protege link that's actually considered more significant than being a biological parent.
Whoa.
They also have communal parenting. Kids might be raised in focus homes by scholars on sabbatical or retired inventors. And get this, ritual reclaiming. If a student makes a huge discovery, they can ritually add a symbol or a term to their lineage name.
So you literally rewrite your ancestry based on your achievements.
In intellectual ink, as the source puts it. Yeah, your heritage is knowledge.
That's incredible. It feels like every part of life there must be steeped in this kind of thinking. Their customs must be full of symbolism and, well, debate.
A lot of them are, like the rite of confounding. At age 12, kids have to present a really challenging, confounding question to scholars.
Not an answer or a question.
Exactly. Judged on clarity, depth, daring. If your question isn't good enough, you get labeled dim-born, which is a serious stigma.
Harsh. Okay, what else?
There's moonlight mapping. Every full moon, people sketch or chant dreams or experimental ideas into these reflection pools. The community looks for patterns, supposedly predicting future breakthroughs.
Selective dream analysis for science.
Kind of. Then there are mirror days. Once a season, everyone has to spend a day mirroring a stranger's life. Different job, different class, different beliefs.
Whoa, forced empathy.
Basically, yeah. To remind everyone of the multiplicity of truth. And finally, debate duels. How respected folks settle arguments or establish dominance.
Debate duels, not lawsuits.
Nope. Formalized thought duels. Apparently they're super theatrical, like equal parts opera and dissertation, logic and rhetoric as weapons.
That's brilliant. But, could someone just win with flashy arguments instead of actual truth? Or is there a check on that? And this focus on discourse must shape their politics too, right? No attack ads, I bet.
That's a great point about the duels. The sources say there's a kind of peer review built in, other scholars acting as judges to keep it grounded in logic, not just performance.
Okay.
And yes, their government, the MOAT, is all about that ongoing discourse. It's a rotating council, elected every 6 years. But not by voting.
How then?
Through merit contests. Candidates undergo a public thesis trial. They have to demonstrate their logic, inventiveness, wisdom to panels of peers and citizens. No campaign speeches, just proof of capability.
A government run by successful PhD defenses.
Sort of. They also have the archivist triad, 3 long-term figures who serve 20-year terms, chosen by the previous triad. They provide continuity. The whole system favors nonlinear leadership, lots of different expertise cycling through. Cognitive diversity is the goal.
Fascinating. So political parties must be different too, like schools of thought arguing.
Exactly that. You've got the glass-bound rationalists, tech-focused, the Mars spiral mystics, ecologists drawing wisdom from the swamp, the Reading Circle radicals who like paradoxes, maybe even using illusions in governance. They're the wild ones.
Using illusions in governance.
Okay. And the empirical pact centrists, focused on evidence-based policy. These groups publish papers, hold debates, and sometimes stage intellectual strikes.
What's an intellectual strike?
They withhold magical innovations or research until their ideas get taken seriously.
Wow. Okay, so law enforcement. If debate settles disputes, what do police even do? Philosophize criminals into submission.
It's not far off. They have axiom wardens, philosophical enforcers, logic-bound peacekeepers.
Okay, axiom wardens. Love it.
Trained in ethics, interrogation, low-impact binding magic. Their motto is stability through reason, not fear. Their robes even have glyphs that supposedly glow if someone lies.
Get out.
You know,
Seriously.
that's what the source says. So they're more likely to, dismantle your argument than rough you up. Minor crimes get settled in public judicator debates. Open court, accused, defends themselves with theory, logic, precedent. It's about finding truth, not just punishment.
This is blowing my mind. The whole economy then must be built on knowledge itself. How does that actually work? How do you trade ideas?
It is literally centered on intellectual output. Alchemical refinement, that magic tech innovation they call manatech. Key exports are things like arcane instruments, potions, glow cap products.
Right, tangible goods.
But also, and this is key philosophical writs and research, they literally sell knowledge. Patented spells, research papers, officially sanctioned theories, even licenses to tutor. Your groundbreaking idea is your product.
That completely changes the game on value. So how do they handle currency? Is it all just reputation points?
It's a hybrid system. They use talk marks, these enchanted crystal discs. Their value is apparently tied to the moon phase when they were made. Super hard to counterfeit.
Okay, so there is some physical currency.
Yes, but also tithes. That's the reputation currency. Publicly logged credits based on your contributions. You spend tithes for things like apprenticeships, access to special archives, favors. Losing tithes is disastrous socially and professionally.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's still direct knowledge barter too. Swapping research notes, sharing experimental data, that kind of thing, validated by peer review boards, of course.
Of course. And the guilds. They're not craft guilds, but academic departments.
Pretty much. They act as both trade unions and philosophical schools. You've got the Scriptorum Concordium. They handle intellectual property, publishing standards. The Mirror Rights herbalists, potion makers. The Beacon Crafters making enchanted lights, essential in the swamp. The Glass Archive Guild. They archive memories, blueprints, keeping the knowledge safe.
Okay.
Each guild holds public demos, conferences, and those tithe trials where members defend their work or risk losing standing. And this focus naturally flows right into their belief systems, which, as you'd expect, are very non-dogmatic, very intellectual.
So, gods of logic. What deities do they recognize in Manaheim?
Well, they're more like powerful metaphors or guiding principles than literal gods you'd pray to in the usual way.
Like concept.
Exactly. There's Tyrix the Weaver, representing complexity, fate. Azaleen of the Still Marsh stands for patient observation, wisdom from nature. The Lantern-Eyed One guides lost thinkers, symbolizing clarity. And the Echo Triptych, past, present, potential, embodies intellectual evolution.
Interesting.
Manaheimers openly say they follow ideas rather than worship deities. They debate metaphysics like other cultures debate laws.
And the rituals must tie into this intellectual quest, too, blurring science and spirituality.
Totally. They practice fog fasting, sensory deprivation, and vapor chambers to spark new ideas. Glimmer drowning, carefully monitored immersion in glowing waters for visions, dissolving the ego. Mind call group chanting to align thought frequencies before big experiments.
Whoa, intense.
Even small things are ritualized. Pouring tea a certain way for clarity, tracing glyphs, and their festivals. The equinox of inquiry is 24 hours of nonstop debate. Best arguments get recorded on public lore stones.
A festival of argument.
Yeah. Lantern Light Parlay involves floating anonymous questions on lanterns down canals to spark citywide discussion. Veil Pierce is a midwinter thing where illusions are broken, truths are confessed. It's always this mix of reverence, critical thinking, and even a bit of challenging the status quo.
Okay, final big area. Defense. How does a society obsessed with understanding and innovation handle conflict? Seems like it would be very different.
It absolutely is. They focus on defensive innovation, not aggression. Think adaptive security, not armies. Their fortifications are wild. The thoughtward canals are moats with magic sensors that detect hostile intent.
Detect intents how?
The sources are a bit vague, but suggest arcane or psychic detection. Then there's the glass spine, a tower network casting illusions, deploying sleep fog, and rift domes that bend light, sound, even memory around key sites.
Bending memory. Wow.
And get this, intelligent moss walls around cities that respond to magic frequencies and literally reroute paths to confuse attackers. It's defense by making the battlefield itself a puzzle.
So no traditional army then. What happens if someone actually attacks?
No standing army, correct. They have specialized units. The Custodians of Paradox. Elite mage strategists working in triads like one tactician, one illusionist, one empath.
Okay.
The Mirror Watch. super secretive intelligence group focused on info warfare, psychic defense, and field acolytes. Local volunteers deployed in a crisis, but their job is to stabilize, contain, not conquer.
Stabilize, not conquer. That's key.
Absolutely. In a siege, Manaheim uses non-lethal methods almost exclusively. Confusion, messing with perception, rerouting attackers through the environment. They want the enemy to get lost, give up, not die.
That's like philosophical warfare. What's their core strategy summed up?
It boils down to a few principles. Blind them before you strike, using information denial, illusions, understand the enemy to dissolve the conflict, using empathy and psychological profiling as actual tactical tools.
Using empathy as a weapon? That's something else?
And if things get really bad, contain the chaos, don't conquer it. They'd rather set up quarantine zones or magical stasis fields than fight a bloody battle. It's about resolution through, well, cleverness. And you see this reflected in their stories, their myths. It's baked into their culture.
Any specific stories or principles that guide this non-aggressive defense? Cautionary tales, maybe.
Definitely. There's the legend of the shattering of Orland glass. An illusion experiment went wrong, caused citywide panic. It's their big warning about innovation without responsibility.
Right. Power needs wisdom.
Exactly. And the Fog Duel 4, this famous psychic showdown where things got so complex, nobody actually knew who won in the end. A lesson in the futility of some conflicts. Their guiding idea is the doctrine of 3 walls.
3 walls.
Yeah, every citizen should maintain 3 defenses, 1 visible, like a shield spell, 1 secret, maybe hidden knowledge, and 1 symbolic, personal willpower, memory. Kids are taught conflict is a riddle, not a race.
Conflict as a riddle. What a deep dive into Manaheim. It's so clear that for them, seeking knowledge isn't just, academic, it's everything. It shapes their buildings, their families, their economy, even how they defend themselves.
Absolutely. That philosophy to understand is to become, it's not just a motto, it's the operating system for their entire civilization. Governance, social life, beliefs, it all stems from that. It's this really compelling picture of a society where thinking, debating, discovering, that's the real power, the real currency. It's a radical alternative.
Yeah, so thinking about Manaheim and their total dedication to understanding as a path to transformation, it leaves you wondering, what's the ultimate truth a society might discover when its whole existence is basically one giant ongoing experiment in collective intelligence?